So, discourse, what do you know about discourse?
Like, nothing.
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 I feel like the word gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people just hear discourse and they think either conversation or debate. But there are actually big differences between those.
Okay, tell me.
So, I could tell you my own version, but I feel like the best way to explain it,
Tell me in simple terms.
Well, I actually have a story.
Oh dear.
So, I was on
I'm
campus.
wondering where this is going to lead to.
I was garnering some info regarding this to see if it's something we should cover or not, right?
Okay.
To see if students knew the difference, how much we'd have to go in depth. And so I was asking around, I was like, do you guys know discourse? What's the difference between discourse and debate? And they're not extremely different, but I had one guy that really gave me a profound answer, right?
Okay.
So I'm walking around. I'm just outside of the science building, actually, and he's real country fellow. Looked like he would have come straight from Logan, my hometown, right? Like, I could have went to high school with this dude wearing the full camo, probably like eco-science major, right? Studying like how to catch bigger fish or something. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, so do you think there's a difference between discourse and debate? He just looked at me funny. He said, oh, well, that's a weird question.
Not the accent.
A weird question. I can do it because that's what I'm supposed to sound like. I changed my accent because Logan accent isn't nice. No, it is. I love the Logan accent, but people can't understand you all the time. I speak the native tongue, so I could have conversation with him. He's like, well, that's a weird question. Why would you ask that? And I'm like, what do you mean it's a weird? Like, he knew what discourse was because I asked him, do you know what discourse is? And it's what's the difference between discourse and debate? So he obviously knew what it was, and so I don't know why it's a weird question. So I'm like, why is it a weird question, right? And he says, well, clearly there's a difference. They're not even related to each other. Oh my gosh, like this dude knows something I don't, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
Now he's piqued my interest. I'm like, this guy is like a straight, huge intellectual, right? He's about to drop some like major philosophy on me, right? He says, well, I asked him to explain. He goes, there's discourse is what they teach us here, right? That you have it in class, you talk to others, you be respectful in a civil manner. But debate has nothing to do with that, right? Debate is what you put on the hook to catch the fish. That has nothing to do with college, right? So,
No.
I thought that was really insightful.
No. That was a really bad joke.
That's probably the worst joke I've ever told.
I think I was so hooked because I really thought this was like a story of how you've gathered the information
you were hooked
for
like the
this.
fish.
Oh no!
That was a redemption joke. That was pretty good.
It's a redemption joke.
Now we'll actually talk about civil discourse. So, civil discourse, put plainly, right, is civil, respectful, meaningful conversation, right?
Okay.
You can have conversation, whatever, but is it meaningful? Is it civil? There are a lot of heated opinions in the world right now. We're not going to cover those just yet.
Fight! I'm just kidding.
And they lead to stuff like fights. But if you can take it in a good manner, then you can prevent that from happening. And you can expand your own knowledge, other people's knowledge, and just genuinely make a better community and world around whatever topic you're talking about. So we're going to I have 9 points of what makes good civil discourse. We're going to go over each one briefly because they're super simple. But if you can practice these, right, you're just going to have it's way better conversation. You're going to learn so much more. It's just great all around to know and to practice, right? You attract more flies with honey is what my dad used to always tell me. Because I had a bad problem for not being civil in discourse. I was very arrogant as a child. Might still be sometimes.
I have to agree. Ooh, who said that?
I mean, it is a battle. It's a battle I struggle with. I'll admit it. Right? I'm arrogant sometimes. Sometimes I think I know everything, when in reality it's just most things. So it's another joke. That's 3. Bam. Okay.
Goodness gracious, he's on a roll
We're
today.
gonna look at the first. Our first one is simple. Be mindful. Right? Introspection. You need to be aware of yourself. And this includes all kinds of stuff, right? Like be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your own feelings, be aware of how you're conveying these things. Be aware of your tone, right? You might not be aggressive at all, but you may be coming across aggressive. I have that problem a lot, probably more than being arrogant. I tend to have a very tone, like bam, bam, straightforward, no messing around. When
You're
in reality,
strict.
yeah, but in reality, I could just be super laid back. I feel like a drill sergeant sometimes. I've been told I sound like a drill, not an actual drill sergeant, but the drill sergeant tone. I could be sitting there with like someone watching a movie, be like, "Hey, will you give me some popcorn?" Like who does that? But apparently I do. So,
Oh my.
but that's the first one. You have to be mindful because you have to realize where you're lacking in the next 8 areas, and you have to realize that you can apply them and how to apply them. So that's the first important step is being mindful. Without it, you can't follow the rest of the steps. Which leads us into number 2, and I think this is a big one. Simple. Wait your turn. Right? Wait your turn in speaking. Uh, I don't really know how I'm going to expand on that one. It's just,
I mean, no, if you're in like a club, say if you're in club and clubs have meetings, and if you don't have like Robert's rules or y'all don't know what that is, it's like how you manage a meeting, how you vote on things. And it just makes the meeting run a lot smoother. And I've been in meetings where you don't have Robert's rules and it's just chaotic and it lasts so much longer than what it needs to. And everyone's just talking over each other. And
yeah.
there's no,
Right. But
yeah.
see, why did Robert's rules have to be put in place? Because people didn't wait their turn. That's the big issue. If everybody would simply wait their turn, you wouldn't have to have rules to follow. And obviously, everything's like that, right? Like if everybody were good, we wouldn't have to have laws. If society would just function. But obviously, you can't implement that everywhere because you would have to rely on everyone to be practicing civil discourse and to be practicing waiting your turn. But if you wait your turn and set that example with other people in smaller groups, when you get with someone else who also waits their turn, you'll find your conversations are way better. And you can't use it all the time, right? But if you practice it even in the situations where other people don't do it, it makes you a good waiter and a good civil discourser for the next time that you are in a conversation where all parties practice it. So that one's simple, just wait your turn. And the next one, it ties into waiting your turn. While you're waiting, right, you're not just waiting, right? You're not just waiting to say whatever your point is. You're listening. And not only are you listening, you are listening to understand. Do not listen to speak, right? This is a huge one. I am so like this. If there was one thing I could tell people in the world, like everywhere, this would be a contender on my list.
I feel like whenever someone's talking to me for like a really long time, I just kind of tune out and I'll just be like,
Yeah, I mean it happens, but if it's something you're having to talk about and you're interested in it, you're still going to listen. But a lot of people, they just listen to speak. They don't listen to understand. They listen, they hear something they can respond to or that they like or don't like, and then they stop listening to the rest of the stuff.
Yep.
They don't even try to understand what they're responding to. They just want to respond. They're having conversation for conversation's sake. They're not having conversation for knowledge's sake. So, and I find that to be really big. And it's actually such a big issue, apparently, right, that there's a quote. I think it's Thomas Jefferson, but it's actually in the Corbly Hall lobby,
Okay.
right? When you're downstairs, if you look over top of the entryways, I think it's the one by 117, or maybe it's on a wall. It's in the bottom of Corbly Hall. I also think it's in the Memorial Student Center 2W22. So it's in 2 places on campus. Listen to understand, not to speak. I'm not sure about the Student Center one, but it
I'll
is
have to
in
look,
Corbly
so I
Hall.
don't think I've seen that.
It's downstairs in Corbly Hall. You can look at it when we leave. But it's turned into one of my favorite quotes. Listen, understand, not to speak, right? Or to respond. I can't remember the exact phrasing. But when you do that, you take it in. You realize what they say. You apply it to your own field of view. Look at where they're coming from, and we'll get to more of that later. And then wait. If someone says something that you're actually trying to have a conversation about and increase either your knowledge or the other person's knowledge, I encourage every time someone says something, count to 2 before you respond. Just count to 2. It's quick. 1, 2. Don't go to 3 because I actually read that there is a psychological tie to like 3 seconds of silence and rejection. So if someone's, it's actually a trick if you want to learn it. If someone says something to you and you don't want to say no, right? Just look at them and wait 3 seconds and don't say anything. So ask me like permission to do something. I don't know.
Luke, I give you permission to open the door.
No, you ask me.
Oh.
Or just ask me a question. Any
Okay.
question.
What's your favorite color?
Didn't that make you like feel awkward?
Yeah.
Right? Like you just
I
wanted,
mean,
like you it makes you feel stupid for asking the question. And I love that trick. It's one of I love it.
why?
I want to use it all the time. Someone asks you something that you're just like, "Really?" Like, just wait 3 seconds. You don't even have to say no. They'll realize their own mistake, and that's more powerful, right?
But what is your favorite color?
Purple.
Okay.
So, but you can use it in all kinds of. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I feel like this is really cool to share. So let's say, let's a big issue is catcalling, right? Let's say you are a young lady, you are strolling the streets of Huntington,
Strolling the streets.
wherever you're at, and a guy comes up to you and he's like, "Dang, mama, you looking fire. Can I get your number?" And you just look at him.
I mean, a lot of people just, give him the finger, but
Well, yeah, but see, when you do that, all they do is like, didn't want you anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you wait, they're like, why ain't she responding, fool? Right? Like, I have to keep up the talk. That's what they're going through in their head. They're like, well, did I do something wrong? Right? Because when you give them the straight up, like, no or the finger, in their head, it's not rejection because of something they did. It's rejection of, like, well, their loss. They don't know what they're missing. They're just not interested in me. When you wait that 3 seconds, their brain goes, why? They finally think why, right?
Maybe.
So I think really you use it to your own discretion, but it's a powerful tool if you want someone to have some self-reflection. That's a sidetrack. That could be a whole other episode. Might use that one day. The power of rejection, but
The power of rejection.
I feel like it's a pretty good topic.
Oh.
Actually. So our next point, our fourth one, is find common ground. Right? A lot of civil discourse takes place when two opposing views come together and they're talking. Find common ground. There's common ground in everybody. You don't think there's any common ground between whatever? Like, in America, we're playing an eternal game of red versus blue, right?
Yeah.
And I say that, not everyone would get that, but that's a Halo game, too. Red versus blue is a Halo game.
No, wouldn't have never have gotten that.
Well, there you go. It's a video game reference, right? So it's kind of funny for those who get it. But it's an eternal game of red versus blue. And it's so, I don't know. Find common ground. People think that the color defines you, right? But in reality, in Halo, you're all Spartans. In the real world, we're all humans.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're both Americans. You're both human beings. You're both American citizens. You both are... If you're both male, you're both male. If you're both female, if not, there are all kinds of common grounds. You both have parents. You were both born, right? So you have birth parents. You both went to school. You both, if you're in politics, you probably had the same major in college, right? A lot of them probably went to the same schools. A lot of them are Ivy League people, right? So there are all kinds of common grounds. We're going to bring that point up later on because it ties into point 9, which is a big one.
Oh, dear.
But, so that'll come back in a second. You'll see. But our next point is follow the discussion. We're going to pretend we're driving a car for a quick second, right?
Vroom, vroom.
Exactly. The road is the discussion, right? There is an end point.
I've heard of this before.
Really?
I think so. I think it was on a meme, though.
Maybe, I don't know. I just came up with it in my head. So,
It's
but
like
it
you
probably
take the
exists somewhere in
exit or
some
something
form.
like that, right?
We're not taking an exit.
Oh.
Right now. You get
out
in
of
the
this
car. This is the
conversation.
start of the conversation. There's an end goal in which someone either gets in the car with you of your ideals, or you get in the car with someone else. Right? That's both people's end goal is to persuade the other person and talk about the issue at hand. If you're in the car and the finish line is right there, why would you want to drive over here? Does it make any sense?
No.
Exactly. I got a little passionate over that one because I have a lot of civil discourse. I'm a high believer in civil discourse, and I have classes with people who don't always follow these rules, and we are supposed to. I'm not going to say anything else.
I feel like you're staring at me. You're like, use civil discourse because we're in a couple of the same classes.
We are. So think about it. But there are there are people who don't use it and they don't know. And these are the issues that I found. I looked up. Everybody has like something about civil discourse. These are the ones I actually found um, applicable, right? That people actually struggle with. So follow the discussion, right? You have an end goal. Why deviate so bad and so hard? Um, unless this is where there is one exception, but it still follows the discussion, right? So if you're on a freeway, you know, you're going. This is a discussion. We're on a freeway. You don't want to go backward, right? We already
No.
we that's not following the path. You're not going to go backward. If you already hit a point, why repeat it? Why are you repeating yourself? Everybody heard you. Everybody understood you. If nobody asked you to repeat it or to explain further, there's no need. Keep going on the freeway. Keep going forward. But sometimes there are alternate roads that lead to the same destination. If this is the freeway, something cuts off, right? A little shoulder on the right or on the left. All that does is take you deeper into whatever. So let's say there is a side topic about within the general discussion. So let's come up with a fake discussion. Let's talk about the gym, since we're both interested in the gym now. There are all kinds of different things about the gym we can talk about, right? But if the gym is the one purpose and I'm trying to convince you to lift weights, what am I going to talk about, right? Lifting weights. And that's the end goal, is to get you to lift them. But why should I be afraid to dive into other stuff like types of weightlifting, right? Because that would be beneficial. Don't be scared to have deep conversations. A lot of people are so sporadic, they don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. So you hear something, and it goes, oh, well, I know something about that, so I'm going to say this. And you spend a lot of time on the freeway, and you make the freeway longer than it needs to be, and you never go off and explore these other paths. So it's like, actually, the analogy I typically use for this is you do a lot of ice skating, you cover a lot of ground, but you never ice fish. You never get deep into the issue. All you do is play surface level stuff the entire time. And I think it's imperative that people start digging into issues instead of just playing surface level, because you'll never find anything that way.
I like that. I mean, I this every time I think of ice skating, I think of when I was little and I was ice skating with my mom, and I got scared and I tried to like have her pick me up, but I just like scraped up her legs.
Yikes.
And so I every time I'd be like, "Hey mom, remember the time we went ice skating?" She's like, "Don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it."
I enjoy ice skating. But in this context, I'm an ice fisherman. I like to get deep into stuff. I don't like the surface level. We're talking about this. Let's ice fish this hole. You want to talk about that? After we find our fish, we'll ice fish that hole, right? We don't need to skate between the two. You're never going to catch a fish that way. And that's just how I think about it. So, our seventh point is facts and opinions both exist. Both are actually valid in civil discourse, but you have to
Yeah.
differentiate between the two. People mix up their opinions with facts, and you simply have to differentiate them. You don't argue over facts. Facts are facts, but people blend their facts with opinions, and it causes danger, right? Because
Too
not
often.
only does it create an argument of people disagreeing, and you think someone else is um, lacking intelligence because they just don't see it your way, and that's a fact. When in reality, they agree with the fact, they don't agree with what you represent the fact as. they don't agree with your opinion attached to it. So not only is that the danger, but the danger is to you that you're not aware of, you know, what you're saying, what you're believing, what the actual fact is. You're placing yourself in a position where you can't differentiate it yourself. So when you hear someone else, you don't know what their opinions are. You don't know what their facts are. So you need to differentiate between the two, not just when you're hearing them, but when you're telling them. And that will come back up again on our ninth point as well. Because, listen, I'm telling you, this ninth one it's so important. But our eighth one is really fast as well. Like, tell the truth, dude. Tell the truth.
I don't like it when people just lie. We actually had, remember in our class,
Yep.
we had a whole TED
thing
talk
lying.
about how you
I
can
loved that.
find like lying in the workplace and through emails. I thought it was really interesting.
See, I thought it was but here's the difference
Hmm.
in what I'm guessing is, I would be curious to ask what people thought about that video, because there are different ways you can think of it. I would say most people would think, oh wow, I'm going to start looking if people are lying to me, right? Is that what you thought?
I mean, I would more take it into account when people email me like work related, because if I'm talking to someone, I'm not gonna like think of those points in my head.
Right, but when someone emails you, now,
Yeah.
when you listen to the TED Talk, you thought, I can use that when I think someone's lying to me in an email, and I
Yeah.
can see. You want to guess what went through my head
What?
when I saw it?
What?
If I ever need to lie through an email, I know what not to do.
That is so true, though.
Exactly. So you can take it different ways, and I just think it's uh, odd how people's brains work, because I don't even like to lie. Like, I'm not a liar, right?
No, me neither.
But when I saw it, I was like, dude, I can be a good liar now if I ever want to.
Did you think that email that he showed? Do you think that guy was lying? In the email from the student, it was like,
No, I don't think. I think
I don't think he was lying
like that
either.
one was okay. My graduation passed away. It's legit a type like, but I think his point was in the second one.
Yeah.
Where he was like, I hate autocorrect, and the theory is that when people get like super passionate about their excuses that they're lying, like I can see where the professor was coming from, but on the same time, everybody says they hate autocorrect, dude.
Everyone says that they hate autocorrect,
And they
which
do.
is
Everyone
true.
does hate it.
I mean, especially when it did something. The email said, "Hey, I can't make it to class today," along the lines of my graduation just passed away, and then he replied, "Graduation?" ? And he said, grandfather, stupid autocorrect is what he emailed back, and he thought like he used this as an example of lying.
And I think it would make sense to me if I received that, like, because I don't know what he's thinking. Like, oh, he tried to make a lie and it was just a bad one. Like, I caught him in it. Like, no one's gonna sit there and be like, oh, my graduation passed. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna send that. It doesn't even make sense. I truly think it was autocorrect, but that's another sidetrack. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Right? Because that's how you have effective discussion. Not only be honest with the other people, but also be honest with yourself. Right? That ties into all of the previous 7 points. Be honest with yourself. And it ties into the ninth point, just as everything else did. So this ninth point is an interesting thing. Presuppositional awareness. You familiar with that term?
Nope.
I wasn't either until about 2 years ago. And presuppositions were introduced to me by a guy named Ken Ham. Are you familiar with him?
Nope.
Oh, you'd like him. You look it up. He's not for everybody. He would be for you.
What's his name?
Ken Ham. I'll text it to you after or something.
Okay.
But Ken Ham is a religious scientist, but he breaks things down. His whole thing. He's not right on everything, right? Nobody is. Humans aren't. We're human. But his concept of explaining material is through presuppositions, right? So let's say you and I are presented with a fact. We see the fact, we both believe the fact, but we believe it comes to different conclusions. Why? It's the same exact information.
Yeah, because it's your opinion, right?
But how
you interpret it.
How are they formulated, opinions? Why do we have different opinions about the same material presented?
I guess it depends on what it is.
Well, the answer is presuppositions.
Okay.
So presuppositions are our internal thoughts, thinking processes, everything inside us that makes us unique that influences a decision or an opinion made, usually generated by previous, like early life experiences, right? This is a little bit of like psychology going on here. Our early life experiences make us develop presuppositions to everything we perceive. It's like everybody has on their own pair of glasses. I have on Luke Jeffrey glasses. She has on Ashley McClure glasses. Whatever, you have on your glasses that you're looking at. And everybody sees differently out of those glasses, even though we're looking at the exact same stuff. It's all the exact same stuff. So we have to realize, how do these glasses alter our views? Right? So when you're aware of that yourself, you can realize how the glasses alter your views, and you can take them off. You can take off your glasses, right? And look at it for what it is, setting yourself aside. And then you just have the bare fact. And you can choose to put your glasses back on, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Opinions are valid, but you need to understand them and differentiate them from the fact. That was, point. I forgot which one.
9.
No, we're on 9. That was 8. Point 8. Or 7. No, 7 is point 7.
Oh dear.
It doesn't matter. But you have to be able to differentiate between that, and the best way to is to remove your presuppositions, right? Just take them off for a split second. And once you realize your own, you can also realize other people's presuppositions, right? And that's how you find common ground. If we disagree over something, and that's where I said it was going to come back in, right? They're all connected into this one. This is the best way to practice the other 8 things that I'm talking about. You look at someone, this is the fact. Maybe Marco's our fact, right? We look
I
at
like
Marco, we see different things. I know we do, right? So whatever you see, I might disagree with. Whatever I see, you're going to disagree with. We're not going to
So-
see the same stuff.
You could see that Marco is a bobblehead, but I see that Marco holds my pen. He's a pen holder.
Right. So why would we think that? Well, maybe I had a bobblehead collection growing up, so the first thing I see is I look at the bobblehead. Maybe you like to write, or, if you're a
I
teacher.
do the clapper. And so I was like,
Exactly,
well,
so-
Marco can be included.
You use the marker for something, so you're going to see the Marco. It appeals to you in whatever it is. So when I look at it, I'm like, how would you not notice it's a bobblehead, right? And then you'd be like, how would you not notice he's holding a marker? Like, that's not supposed to be there. But in reality, if we remove those, what are we both left with? We're both left with Marco on the table, right? And that's the thing. And I can, now that I know that you wrote on the clapper, I can understand why you saw the marker. Now that you know I had a bobblehead collection growing up, you understand why I saw that it's a bobblehead. So that's the big thing. Ask why they believe stuff, right? Ask why. And if they don't give a real answer, they might not be aware of their own presuppositions. Start digging into it to find out, right? Because there's something there why they interpret that fact the way they do and add that opinion onto it.